All right, lastly, I want to talk about tracking your leads and your offers and your deals, okay? It's kind of a boring thing to talk about. You know, you got a lead that comes in, you got to log it, and then you make an offer and you got to log it, and then, you know, the seller doesn't talk to you for 6 months, and, you know, eventually they talk to you again, you got to find it and you got to update it. It's just, you know, it's kind of annoying stuff. I get it, but you gotta keep records in this business. When you have hundreds of leads and you want to eventually turn those leads into money, there's no alternative to tracking. You must track your leads and your offers and your deals. If you don't track, you are bleeding money. And you have no idea where it's going. You know, if you're the kind of person that, you know, you see a house, you know, a lead comes in, whatever, you make a phone call, you talk to the person, and for whatever reason it doesn't seem like a deal, if you hang up the phone and that's the end of it, if that is your process, you have no idea how much money you're losing. I mean, you just are. There's just missed opportunities everywhere, and you have no way of knowing. So anyways, you have to track your leads. Now that, you know, what I just talked about, that's kind of how it affects you. Now let's talk about when you start bringing in network contacts and this kind of thing. When you have leads coming in from postmen and their vacant house leads, you got to track them. You got to know the specifics of the lead, and you've also got to know where that lead came from. Let's just talk about postmen. That's it. Just using postmen as an example, because that's the one that's most intense on tracking leads, because they're just kind of a lead provider. You got to have all the leads, and you got to know specifically that it came from that postman. Because for one thing, let's say deals aren't coming together. You got to be able to be like, hey, you know, we got all these leads we're working on. You know, some of them kind of look like they might be coming together, but, you know, we don't really just have anything solid yet. Well, that's kind of bad news, but it also is kind of legitimate. And it's meaningful to the guy who provided you with all these leads, because they would rather hear an honest assessment of the truth, even though it might not be producing any fruit yet, than, you know, just some kind of BS thing that you make up because you aren't doing any tracking. Now, it's just vitally important. Here's kind of the worst thing that could happen. Let's say that, you know, you have all these leads coming in and you're actually closing some deals, but because your tracking is so poor, you don't know where the leads came from. That's bad, man. I mean, it's you know, you're making money on a relationship, and the other person is just getting shafted because you don't know where the lead came from. That's bad. That's bad. And quite honestly, I have made that mistake before. I have closed deals on houses. Well, not deals. I have closed on a house, and I couldn't recall who the source of the lead was, but I got called on it, and it was an honest mistake. And I don't remember the details honestly, but, you know, basically somehow it came full circle that I closed on this house, and the provider of the lead, you know, called me on it. They're like, hey, you know, that lead came from me. You know, you closed on this house. You know, where's my cut? And you know, I felt like garbage for doing that. It wasn't anything intentional, again, but because there was a you know, a hole in my lead tracking system, a flaw. You know, the lead progressed to a point and the deal closed, and I was unable to compensate where it came from, and that was a big mistake. You know, I fixed the situation, you know, on the back end, but still, that was damaging, because it looks like I just took advantage of this person. Now, obviously, you don't want to be taking advantage of anybody for any reason, but by keeping good tabs on your leads, tracking them through the entire process, and especially logging where that lead came from, you know, the source on the front end, you know, that's going to save you from a lot of trouble. And it's also going to help you build out that relationship, because there's record. You know, you can update people on their leads. You know, even if things aren't coming together at the present moment for leads that came from a particular source, you can give them an update. Hey, you know, you gave me 20 leads. They're all in various sources in at various stages in the process, but we don't really have anything to talk about yet. You know, that's meaningful. You know, you know, just keep good records. That's really what it comes down to. The way you keep good records, it doesn't really matter. It could be, you know, if it's a notebook, a notepad that you're keeping records on, you know, it's not really the most effective way to do it. But if you're keeping good records on a notepad, great. Otherwise, set up a spreadsheet. That's kind of a little more user-friendly, and you can just enter things in and delete them and update them. Use Google Sheets. It's free. Or if you want to do some kind of fancy, you know, lead tracking software, you can do that too. It doesn't really matter how you do it. You just got to track it, because your relationship with these strategic contacts hinges completely on your ability to track these leads and to ensure that they're getting paid on deals that you're closing. Very important stuff. All right. So that's all for lead tracking. After this, we're just going to wrap up this course. So moving on to that.